Hello, it is America's Supermom, and thank you for joining me for another episode of Mistakes of Motherhood. I want to talk about perfection and what it can really do to hinder us from moving forward to be the best version of ourselves. When we are looking to be perfect, we are setting ourselves up for failure. Now, this may be a hot topic. Many people may not agree with me or whatever, but I can only talk about my own journey. And I have found that when you are striving for perfection, you're setting yourself up for failure because it's impossible for things to be perfect. Let's say you want to craft that perfect day, you want to get six things done, and you end up with a flat tire, and everything that you need to do requires you using your vehicle. Okay. Now, yeah, we can quickly make adjustments in Uber or get a ride or do something else. But the issue is that when we are thinking of an idealistic or perfect time or day or experience, it usually involves some things that are outside of our control. And so, if we approach a lot of the things that we want to do with understanding that there are elements that we can and cannot control and navigate accordingly. So, although you want to be prepared for things, for example, if I'm going on a long trip, I want to make sure that I'm prepared with adequate amount of gas. Maybe I want to have snacks. I want to make sure that my engine is in order, my oil has been changed, my tire pressure is correct. However, I may encounter a flat tire, so I want to make sure I have a spare. So, part of being a leader, whether it's a mom or someone in business, is really being equipped with the tools necessary in the event that you have an emergency. So, as we have seen with the global pandemic, for example, kids still needed to be instructed. We had to social distance, and in a lot of cases school was not even in session in a normal way of doing school, so we had to transform and do virtual, right? So although the same need needed to be felt or achieved, we had to modify the way that we went about doing it. So when you are in a place of understanding that obstacles and trials are going to come, you're a lot more flexible to deal with the real life issues that take place. So if we were just gung ho on, hey, we got to be in the classroom, this is the only way the kids are going to learn, then we would not have been able to pivot or transform our way of learning to a virtual capacity. So perfection is something that may be ideal. However, it's just not possible. There are so many nuances and factors. I mean, I could go on all day about the things that could interfere with us being able to have that perfect outcome. Now, I am a mom with 15 children and 10 of them that are still at home. So I may wake up and be in the best mood, and one of my kids may be sick. Maybe they didn't sleep well. Maybe their teacher's sick. Or maybe there's some emergency at the school and the kids are out of school. There's so many things that can happen. I think the key is not really to look at perfection, but look at what kind of tools do you have in your survival kit. Do you have band-aids? Do you have gauze? I mean, a lot of these things we can identify with certain types of obstacles. We understand health challenges, we understand car challenges, we understand weather challenges, whether you take your umbrella or not, depending on how whatever the day looks like, you always want to be prepared and have an umbrella if that's your philosophy. Well, why don't we have that for our personal life? A lot of times we are stuck not knowing how to move forward because something happens that we hadn't planned. Now, you're not planning for things to go awry. However, if you're so caught up on everything being perfect, you're not going to know how to pivot or change when things do get a little crazy or chaotic. So, it's about having these boundaries and understanding what it is that you desire, but taking that into bite-sized pieces and really focusing on the things you can control and what you can't control. Now, I suffered for 13 years with depression and was hospitalized 3 times. And although that was a bad thing, it really taught me about boundaries. It taught me about knowing what my limits are. It taught me about what I can control and what I can't. And it taught me about how I wanted to show up. So I have decided since that experience, because I can't get 13 years back, that I would like to be more proactive than reactive. I want to be able to design my day rather than have my day design me, right? Or have me overwhelmed or stressed out. So when we decide that we want to be intentional, how we choose to greet the day really matters. So if I come from a place of being happy, I understand that although everything may not be happy that occurs, I can look through that lens of what does happiness look like to me? If I respond in a negative way, is that really reflecting how I want to feel with being happy? And so then I can be strategic and align myself with things that continue to move me forward with that goal and aspiration. So I wanted to get on to just remind us that although we would love an ideal scenario, I love this quote that someone shared with me that said, it's hard to steer a parked car, right? If that car is in park and it's not even on, you cannot move that steering wheel. You can fantasize, you can dream, you can, meditate, do all these things. But if the car is not on and if the car is in park, you are not going anywhere. Those wheels are not moving. So we need to think about how can we get out of park? How can we get in the drive into a position that's going to move us forward? And although we might have the ideal scenario, it's always good to figure out what do you need in your toolkit in the event of adversity, in the event of an obstacle. When these things come up, how are you going to use your tools so that you don't get stuck in that obstacle? So, if it's raining, you want to have an umbrella. If you have a flat tire, you want to have a spare tire, right? You want to be able to have a band aid if you have a minor cut. So, a lot of these things we want to make sure we have in our toolkit so that we are not stuck in a place where we lose a lot of time and momentum when things can come in our awareness that could leave us stuck if we're not careful, right? So it's not how many times you fall because everybody's going to fall. You're going to keep falling. Life is about cycles, it's about ups and downs, twists and turns. So if you're believing that you're not going to fall, you're not going to have any challenges, I mean, hey, I wish you the best, but that is just the reality in the world that we live in because there are things that you can't control. Who says that they want to have a challenge? Do I wake up and say, hey, I want my kids to challenge me today. I want them to argue when I tell them to do something. I want them to not do their homework so I can work on that. We don't wake up and have this desire to do these challenges. However, it is our own self awareness and preparation that allows us to handle these obstacles with grace. And it allows us to not get stuck in a place of overwhelm or even paralysis because of some of these things that are outside of our control. So I wanted to get on to remind you that perfection is a recipe for failure because it's not happening. Okay. There are so many things that perfect is just not on the radar. It's not really going to happen. And so even if you might have a perfect day, the recreation is the part that's impossible. It's impossible to recreate a lot of things. What I have learned to do is take the lemons and make lemonade. So I know that I get a lot of lemons in my day. And so I know I have lemonade always on my uh, serving list, right? Or I'm using these lemons in my hot tea. I'm doing something that's moving me forward in a positive way because that's how I choose to look at it. So think about, how do you want to show up? How do you want to get to some of these outcomes? The outcome is what matters, and how you go about it, your attitude, how you present yourself, how you want to show up. All these things play a big part in allowing you to move forward regardless of what obstacles try to stop you. So that is all I have for today. Again, this is America's Supermom. I know I do not always introduce myself, but just reminding you that if I can do it with 15 kids, you can do it too. That's all I've got. Have an amazing day. Bye for now.